On December 25th, 2023, the era Arrowhead Stadium was freezing, but the tension was hotter than ever. The Raiders walked in as underdogs, but walked out with a win that left 70,000 Chiefs fans stunned into silence. In the locker room, Antonio Pierce said, "Let's call a spade a spade." That was a statement aimed straight at decades of history. Because when these two teams meet, it's all about old grudges, bruised pride, and the kind of memories that don't fade with time. Chiefs vs. Raiders is a matchup of fights, flags, and moments that turned into folklore, 6 decades deep and still burning just as bright. It started in the early 1960s. Two original AFL teams who were still trying to prove they belonged. The Chiefs began as the Dallas Texans before moving to Kansas City in 1963, where the Raiders were pure Oakland. When the league merged, they were locked into the AFC West together, guaranteeing 2 showdowns a year, so the rivalry was inevitable. These teams hate each other for their differences. What one stood for, the other couldn't stand. The Chiefs build around discipline, tradition, and family, whereas the Raiders are rebellion, toughness, and swagger. Every time they met, those two mindsets hit head on. The 1968 AFL playoff was where the tension first boiled. Both teams were 12-2. Then the Raiders destroyed Kansas City 41-6. Call it a night of humiliation and payback, but the Chiefs came back a year later to return the favor at the 1969 AFL Championship. Kansas City beat Oakland 17-7 on their way to the first Super Bowl. That's a burn. After the back and forth came the 1970 Ben Davidson Incident, a late hit on Chiefs receiver Otis Taylor. It was a full-on brawl with plenty that cost Kansas City the win. That scar didn't heal either. Instead, the rivalry became more personal. Coaches threw shade, players threw punches, and Al Davis fueled it all with his defiance. Marty Schottenheimer answered with his pride, and the fans were up for every bit of it. Marty instilled this mindset in the team, that Raiders Week is Raiders Week. You don't need motivation. You already know what this means. When we say Raider Nation versus Chiefs Kingdom, we say tradition versus anarchy. It's a story of two cultures that simply refuse to respect each other. Until today, the hatred flows. When asked about the Chiefs, Coach Antonio Pierce didn't hesitate, saying, "It doesn't matter," which honestly makes sense because it's a call of rivalry. More so when someone mentioned Patrick Mahomes, Pierce hit back saying, "We've got to knock off the head of the snake number 15. That's blunt, honest, and borderline violent. And when the Raiders stunned the Chiefs 20-14 on Christmas Day, Pierce said,
"Yeah, it's called spade a spade, right? The best team in football against the worst team in football."
They ain't scared of Kansas City. Not now, not ever. I've seen this story play out 100 different ways, and somehow it always feels brand new. Year after year, they meet again, the same colors, the same noise, the same tension that never seems to cool. We know the Chiefs are ahead on the scoreboard, but that hardly matters. Rivalry lives in memory and the pride of people who refuse to forget. From Len Dawson and Otis Taylor to Patrick Mahomes and Max Crosby, every era leaves its fingerprints on this thing. Another bruise, another boast, another story to argue about. Whenever they line up again, it'll be another page in a book that never ends, written in noise, grit, and a little bad blood. So now I'll ask you, after all these years, after all these hits and heartbreaks, which side are you on?